3 minutes and 47 seconds. That was the time it took for VAR to disallow Sheffield United's first goal. That's a nonsense.
It is.
You are a big proponent. You have been, and you're a staunch defender of VAR. Are you still?
Not the way it's being utilised in many of Europe's domestic leagues. And listen, I was part of the football advisory panel to IFAB when VAR was being discussed, and indeed when the Eredivisie were doing their testing. They developed the system, they were doing a lot of testing. I was also part of those discussions with the referees as to how it would be utilised, and they thought it would best be utilised, which we saw in World Cup 2018. And I don't think we've seen VAR work as well. And I think the domestic leagues, in trying to put their own spin on it, have made a mess of the system. And it's taking away from certainly how it was intended and the benefit to referees.
We've not seen the same controversy recently in Germany, in Spain, and in other nations that they use it. Is there an arrogance that English football has that they want to be? It was fine in 2018 at the World Cup. So is English football, is there an arrogance about the way that Mike Riley and the rest of them are doing this?
Well, just to kind of package that, I think it worked well in 2018, but the domestic leagues have all been having their problems. And I think it's the closer you are to that league, you feel it's being implemented worse. We just over the last 2, maybe 3 weeks, we've had shows in both Italy and France saying that we're doing it wrong. Just look, how come the English aren't having the problems that we are? So it paints a perspective that everybody thinks VAR is worse in their country than it is in everybody else's. That being said, yes, I think there's a certain arrogance to these domestic leagues as to how they feel it should be used, as opposed to how it was utilised at the World Cup. And it's not working. You know, on the one hand, I want to say, well, there is some benefit to everybody having their own spin, because at least then you have, a better idea, better data sets as to what works, what doesn't work. Does going to the sidelines work or not? Does doing it this way work or not? And then somehow all the domestic leagues adopt a system that works for everybody.
How does the Premier League do it better? Because they're making a you-know-what of it right now.
No, and that's my point. Everybody's having their problems.
So how do they make it better?
Well, first of all, what I think the Premier League needs to do is sit down with the referees. Ask them what they need out of VAR. Ask them what support they need, how they'd like to see it implemented. What I think you've seen so far is they've thrown VAR at the wall, so to speak, see what sticks, and then what's left, see who criticizes, be it the media or the fans, and then address that criticism. So now you have VAR being used and customized according to what media and fans say. This is for the referees. It's to support the referees. Ask them what they need. I don't think any referee, as much as as every referee wants every decision to be 100% right, no referee wants to be standing on the field for 4 minutes waiting for somebody else somewhere to tell him what to do. It's taking away from his authority. It's taking away from it's taking away from the game on the whole in every single regard.
VAR is only as good as the human being in charge of getting it right.
Yes.
You would not put your eldest child in your Maserati when you had one back in the day after she'd just passed her test, would you?
No.
You're not going to put someone in charge of something that they're not ready for. So is the issue here, you're Jonathan Moss today, taking 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Your other guys who've been in charge of VAR. Is the problem here that they may be qualified as referees, but they still struggle with this whole interpretation?
Yes, I don't think the systems are in place, or certainly the ability to use those systems are in place well enough. And again, to put it back into perspective, when the Dutch were test driving this, so to speak, they said they had their decisions down to between 11 and 15 seconds, and that they could even get it down to 8.
Wait a minute, 11, to get the thing correct, 11 seconds, and
Correct.
this took 3 minutes and 40 seconds.
They were dry testing, again, without having that information relayed to the referee on the field, right? This is just their dummy run, so to speak. But they were saying that they had it down to 11 to 15 seconds.
Why can't Premier League do that?
I really cannot answer that question. I don't know why it should take this long. Aside from which, why referees aren't going to monitors on the sidelines, that's, again, for me, that's taken away from the referee's authority, which nobody wants, including, and in particular, the referees on the sidelines. They are making an absolute mockery of the system and how it was meant to work by the way it's done. And to your point, you have people in charge of these systems, and they're inevitably built into use of technology, particularly by humans. There is margin for error that I don't think anybody is paying attention to or respecting.
Hawkeye, okay? Tennis and cricket. 3.6 millimetres is the margin for error.
Yeah.
Okay, now we accept it as gospel when the decision is made. But there's an issue here with this offside. Now, you'll get experts that are saying, well, it was offside because of this. It looks worse than it is on TV. For us, it might have looked, well, his knee or his head, Dyer played Lundstrom on. The issue here is you've got someone stopping and getting a freeze frame, and it's down to Stockley Park, where this is all done, for them to get the correct frame for when the ball, initial contact, is made. There is no margin for error here. Could there be in future?
There has to be a margin of error built into it for a number of reasons. One, the frame that you're being used. As we all know, though it may look like one flowing picture, television and how it's portrayed and how it's broadcast is individual photos, one after the other, just run quickly one after the other. So, and if you have to factor in a margin of error because it's, stop-start photos, just because that's the technology that we have. Similarly, in terms of the usage of a line, there's a certain thickness of a line, and listen, theoretically, a line has no thickness, but we are talking humans having to look at a screen, so therefore there is a thickness to the line. Again, another margin of error built into that. And just the mere fact that you and I, using the same little twisty knob, turning and adjusting a line to be in touch with somebody's knee, you would have it at one point, I might have it marginally somewhere else. So again, another margin of error. I think you factor those in, it reduces the amount of time that you see being taken.
Why have we made this so complicated?
I don't know. I really don't. I think it's a really simple system that once utilized properly, it benefits everybody else. Why it's been somehow turned into this monstrosity, it's beyond me.
Final question. Has the Premier League failed the punters, the teams and the players with their implementation, their view of VAR this season?
The Premier League is failing the referees. VAR is there to help the referees. Let's give it to the referees. Let's not worry about what the punters and what the fans and what the players think about it. Support the referees to do the best job that they possibly can, and I think once you do that, you will start to see VAR at its best, and people appreciate the tool that it was meant to be.
So it's here to stay in England?
I think it's here to stay in football.
It's got to be better at implementing it then, Premier League. Are you listening?
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.